Well, this feels more like a Tesla-only story when you look at just this fall in EV sales for them that they're suffering across Europe, down 45% in January. The wider EV market in Europe up 37%, so rivals are catching up and performing.
Tesla, once a symbol of innovation and environmental revolution, is now experiencing one of the biggest crises in its history. While Elon Musk's company was preparing the world for a mass transition to electric cars, it faced a 90% drop in sales in Europe. This is not just another PR problem or temporary difficulty. It is a real financial cataclysm that could affect Tesla's future and even Elon Musk's status.
Does that help Tesla? I mean, you had Tim Waltz, who's a huge jerk,
But what lies behind this drama? Why is Tesla, which until recently dominated the electric vehicle market, now facing such a decline? There are many more reasons than just competition. Price, quality, public sentiment, all these factors are intertwined into something bigger than just the car market. And Europe, as the largest market for electric cars, has become the main battleground.
Spray paint to vandalize and make a statement. People in Southern California are getting notes on their Teslas, calling them complicit Nazis for owning electric cars.
Imagine that just a couple of years ago, Tesla was not just a car, but a symbol of progress and success. In Germany, France, and the UK, its electric cars were admired. But now the same market has literally turned its back on them. What happened? Many factors that we have become accustomed to ignoring have begun to influence purchasing decisions, from the deteriorating economic situation to unexpected twists in politics and legislation. And that's not all. New players are emerging on the horizon, ready to take Tesla's title as market leader.
Running around on stage with a Tesla stock price, where the stock price had gone in half. And he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do. What a creep, what a jerk. Like who derives joy?
How could it happen that a company once considered the undisputed leader in the world of electric cars is now facing such difficulties? The drop in sales leaves no room for doubt. Tesla is losing ground and dangerous prospects are beginning to emerge. But what can Elon Musk do to regain his former leadership? Will this be the end for Tesla in the European market, or will the company take decisive steps to turn the situation around?
We've accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
He praised all the domestic actions he has taken so far on immigration.
And I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country.
And spending cuts.
We are draining the swamp. It's very simple.
Get ready for a fascinating journey into the world of financial crises, business strategies, and technology, where every step could be decisive. This is not just a story about a fall from grace. It is a chance to see how Tesla might recover and what it can do to save itself. Stay tuned, the best is yet to come. Tesla, once considered a model of innovation and a symbol of the environmental revolution, has faced an unexpected crisis that has now become its worst nightmare. In recent months, its car sales in Europe have fallen by a staggering 90%.
Well, you will hear people over in Europe say the new Model Y, the Juniper, could be a difference maker, but that's been in that market now for more than a month. And you would think that you'd see a greater snapback if it's going to be a difference maker. Look, we could be wrong. It could be a difference maker once you get the sales for April, May, and June. But when you have a country like Norway, I think the sales were down something like 11% there. I mean, that's a very savvy EV consumer in Norway. And that's long been a strength for Tesla. Very small market, not huge volume, but I think almost all of the vehicles they sell there are electric. And they embraced Tesla long before others. And, you know, the reports there are not encouraging.
Is this the end for a company that has dominated the electric vehicle market for almost a decade? Behind this sharp turnaround are not only intensifying competition and global economic changes, but also a number of factors that could hardly have been predicted. The situation has turned out to be much more complicated than just a PR problem or another bout of supply issues. It is a financial disaster that threatens the company's future.
After Trump imposed those sweeping 25% tariffs on aluminum and steel imports, the European Union retaliating with tariffs on up to $28 billion of U.S. goods. Trump making it clear this isn't over, vowing to respond in kind with sweeping retaliatory tariffs early next month.
They're doing what they should be doing, perhaps, for the European Union, but it does create ill will. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them.
Canada also striking back with new tariffs on $20 billion worth of U.S. goods, mostly steel and aluminum, but also computers and sporting goods.
At the beginning of the year, Tesla felt confident. As always, the company set ambitious goals to double its sales in Europe, expand its presence in new countries, and launch new models, promising even higher sales. Elon Musk managed to maintain a positive image in the eyes of both investors and fans of the brand. But something went wrong. In particular, a sharp decline in key European markets caused panic among shareholders. Expected profits did not materialize, and this was followed by a fall in the stock market. At first glance, this might have seemed like a temporary setback caused by economic instability, but the situation was actually way more complicated. Tesla was on the brink of a financial crisis that could have been the end of the brand as we know it.
I mean, the things that he's doing is not trying to make America better. He's ruining our infrastructure, every department in our government. He's ruining, and he's right now destroying our economy. He's taken away all of our allies. We're a pariah in the world.
Tesla's problems in Europe did not start yesterday. The electric vehicle market in Europe is experiencing a real boom. However, in addition to Tesla, other major players have entered the scene and begun to capture its position. Many traditional automakers, such as Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz, have significantly increased their efforts in the electric vehicle sector in recent years. Their new models, offering the same features as Tesla, but at more attractive prices, leave Musk and his team with no competition. One striking example is the new Volkswagen i.4, which outsold the Tesla Model Y in Germany in its first months on the market. On top of that, car makers are offering their cars with a bunch of bonuses and subsidies from European governments, which Tesla can't afford.
371, most were saying 350 to 360. Now they're coming in at 336,068, production of 362,615. So for some point of reference here, you're going back to Q2, maybe Q1 of 2022 in terms of the last time that they had production this or deliveries this low for one quarter. So again, Tesla deliveries worse than expected at just over 336,000 deliveries in the first quarter. Guys, I'll send it back to you.
That's horrible. Can I just ask Phil, how about the Cybertruck? How's that doing? You got a little inventory there in the Cybertruck?
Another important thing that caused sales to drop is changes in EU laws. In 2023, the European Commission approved new carbon dioxide emission standards, forcing automakers to redesign their vehicles. Tesla, which was among the last companies to adapt its model range to these strict rules, faced additional difficulties. Europe, as the largest market for electric vehicles, requires manufacturers to comply with increasingly stringent environmental standards, and not all Tesla models meet these standards. For example, the Model S and Model X, which have remained popular with European buyers, now face strict sales restrictions in some countries.
Outperforming as well in some cases, doing better than Tesla. And you just have to think, how much more is this a sustained issue for Tesla going forward, given the fact that you have Elon Musk, who's been very forthright in his opinions, particularly weighing in on politics, particularly in Europe. We've just had the European elections, which Musk has been very focused on. But across the piece, when you look at the performance for Tesla in Europe, it's not just in small countries. A lot of countries where Tesla has been performing badly, including in Germany, in the UK where it has been lagging, and Spain as well.
In addition, against the backdrop of economic instability caused by inflation and rising energy prices, buyers have become more cautious in their spending. Buying a Tesla, once seen as a symbol of progress, has become an unaffordable luxury for many. The high cost of cars that were recently considered affordable in the premium segment has alienated buyers. While competitors have offered cheaper options aimed at the middle class, Tesla has found itself in a difficult position. Even despite good reviews of quality and technology, price has become the deciding factor.
back to the White House. That has been fueling this anger, this frustration, some even say disgust towards Musk, and they're taking it out on Tesla. Tesla now feeling the pain. But because of what's happening here in Europe, Tesla sales fell by nearly half across the continent just last month, 45%.
Another important aspect of the crisis is the management of the company itself. Some sources claim that Elon Musk's excessive workload has caused his attention to be divided between several other ambitious projects, from SpaceX to Twitter, leading to a loss of focus on Tesla. While Musk continued to actively promote his image on social media and engage in political issues, the company's production capacity and innovation capacity were neglected. It was at this point that competitors gained the upper hand, and Tesla, despite its efforts, was unable to maintain its leadership.
That's from the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. People just choosing with their wallets to not buy Teslas because of that Musk-Trump association. And actually here in London, an activist group called Everyone Hates Elon actually have been hacking bus stop signs with posters. I actually passed one yesterday. First, I wasn't quite sure what was happening, but it said the words 0 to 1939 in 3 seconds. Illusion here, 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds or something. But this poster was alluding to the start of World War II, and the image was of Musk giving that hand salute that we saw at Trump's inauguration that many have attacked as a Nazi gesture. Musk, though, has neither admitted or denied what he was doing. But we're seeing the knock-on effect of that anti-Musk anger across Europe and in terms of sales.
The scale of the problem became clear to everyone when several major markets, including Germany and the UK, reported a sharp decline in Tesla sales. In some countries, sales fell to historic lows. Analysts began to express the opinion that if Tesla did not change its strategy in Europe, it could lose its share of a market that was once considered its home. Elon Musk, trying to regain investor confidence, began to make statements about possible radical changes to the company's model. But these statements were not enough to prevent the financial blow.
Worse than expected, 336 and 68 vehicles, 336,068 vehicles delivered in the first quarter for Tesla. For a point of reference, the street was expecting, the street account was expecting, based on analyst expectations.
All of this combined has led to Tesla facing a real threat of losing its leadership in Europe. The company's shares began to fall rapidly, and the situation escalated to a critical level. However, despite desperate attempts to improve the situation remained uncertain. The European market, which had long been a winning territory for Tesla, has now become one of the most challenging and unstable places for the company to grow. If Musk cannot find a way out of this crisis, it could be more than just a temporary setback, but a real collapse for Tesla in Europe.
KTLA Samantha Cortese joins us live with more on the wave of vandalism in protest of Elon Musk and his role in Washington. Sam?
Hi, Sharon, Micah. The ATF and FBI are collaborating with federal, state, and local law enforcement to investigate acts of domestic terrorism surrounding Teslas.
Tesla has faced unique and truly profound problems, many of which have been the result of changing market conditions and internal failures. First and foremost, the sharp increase in competition in the electric vehicle sector has been a cause for concern. Europe, which was Tesla's main field for expansion, now does not seem so rosy. Once Tesla realized it was up against a powerful rival like Volkswagen, the decision was clear: adapt or lose. For example, Volkswagen's new i.3 and ID.4 models not only met all European standards, but also offered buyers a more competitive price, which was a critical factor amid rising prices and inflation.
But they are not ruling out the possibility that this was arson. At the same time, as you just mentioned, there are groups that have been organizing ongoing and peaceful protests at Tesla dealerships around the world. These demonstrations targeting Elon Musk and his affiliation with the Trump administration. Italy's prime minister is said to be close friends with Musk, and there were reports that Teslas have been vandalized in her hometown in Italy. Diane.
In recent months, several major German manufacturers, such as BMW and Mercedes-Benz, have begun to actively introduce new electric vehicles that not only match Tesla in terms of performance, but also begin to win on factors important to European consumers, such as charging systems, maintenance costs, and the availability of local service centers. Tesla's problems against this backdrop became apparent. They began to lose their niche in the market, and confidence in the brand declined. Over the past few months, there has been a drop in demand for the Tesla Model 3, which was previously considered a bestseller in Europe. Instead, European buyers preferred new models from competitors, and sales statistics confirmed this.
Over the last couple of months. But the other thing that this could potentially be is an attempt at readjustment or correction by the Trump administration, in that one of Trump's closest kind of allies and supporters, and someone who's clearly very influential in the administration, is coming out to kind of push back against the recently implemented policies. So I'm thinking, or maybe hopeful is the right word, that this might be a signal that the administration is considering walking back some of those policies.
But competition wasn't the only thing hurting Tesla's sales in Europe. Internal supply chain issues, especially with battery deliveries, also made it hard for Tesla to keep up production. Delivery issues from Chinese manufacturers of lithium-ion batteries used by Tesla affected the quality and delivery times of its vehicles. The company found itself in a situation where, instead of delighting customers with its innovative solutions, it had to contend with logistical and production problems.
Hey Diane, this investigation really just beginning, and one of the key elements will of course be the surveillance video, and investigators potentially have a lot of it to work with as they try to figure out what caused this fire. We know that surveillance footage has been turned over, including video from each of the cars, which could prove vital to understanding what happened here, because each vehicle has its own camera system that works even when the car is off, and 16 cars burned in this fire, and right now investigators don't know what caused it.
One of the most worrying developments has been the rise in prices for raw materials, including lithium, which is a key component in the production of batteries for electric vehicles. For example, last year Tesla was forced to increase the price of its cars in Europe by 12%, which caused serious discontent among buyers. The rising cost of Tesla cars now severely limits the pool of buyers, especially against the backdrop of general price increases across the entire automotive market. To make matters worse, in some European countries, such as France and Italy, there are rumors that Tesla has begun to lose government subsidies that previously helped the company keep its prices at an acceptable level.
Canada, the largest supplier of steel to the U.S., slapping new tariffs on $20 billion worth of U.S. goods that are sold in Canada. And the 27 countries of the European Union imposing retaliatory tariffs on up to $28 billion worth of U.S. goods sold in Europe, including Harley-Davidson motorcycles and Kentucky bourbon. President Trump with the Irish Prime Minister visiting the White House today. The president suggesting his tariffs won't stop here, saying, "Of course, I'm going to respond." And tonight, right here, the new poll showing 56% of Americans disapprove of President Trump's handling of the economy. The number's even worse now on the president's tariffs.
New players in the electric vehicle market have also begun to actively use new technologies and flexible marketing approaches that allow them to respond more quickly to market changes. For example, Polestar, a joint venture between Volvo and Geely, has unexpectedly attracted the attention of European buyers thanks to its style, better build quality and competitive price. In addition, startups such as Rivian began to look for opportunities to create more affordable yet high-tech electric vehicles, putting even more pressure on Tesla and forcing the company to reformat its strategy. All these problems were exacerbated by the fact that Elon Musk, despite his numerous projects, was not always able to respond quickly to changes in the European market. In recent months, Musk has been actively involved in developing his other ventures, such as SpaceX and Twitter, which, according to some analysts, has caused him to neglect Tesla. A source close to the company claimed that Musk preferred to focus on achievements in other areas rather than solving the problems Tesla faced in the European market. As a result, the decisions made by Tesla's top management were not always quick or decisive enough. This was another factor that contributed to the company's decline in key markets. In response to growing competition and falling demand for its cars, Tesla began to change its strategy. Elon Musk publicly announced that the company plans to launch a new model that will be aimed at a broader market, including middle-class buyers. However, it is already clear that not all changes are bringing quick results. For example, the company was forced to postpone the release of the new car until 2024, which further complicated the situation amid growing competition. Despite all its efforts, Tesla still remained on the sidelines of the European market. To regain its position, Musk and his team began to consider the possibility of setting up new production facilities based on old capacities in Europe. However, logistical problems and high labor costs seemed insurmountable obstacles to this idea. There was talk that Tesla was considering moving part of its production to Poland or Ukraine, where labor is significantly cheaper, but the decision was clearly delayed. Thus, Tesla was faced with a difficult task. The company had to adapt to the changed market situation, overcome the production crisis, and possibly change its business model in order to remain competitive in the face of fierce competition from growing local brands and newcomers to the market. The question of whether Tesla will be able to return to the top in Europe remains open.